Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer 3023-3-603 half-surface double-acting spring hinge. 3023 is representative of the fact that it's a double-acting spring hinge, but it's a half-surface type, meaning that the door leaf surface mounts. So what you're seeing back here is the frame portion, and the door would fit into the pocket here, right into this space, okay? So from one side of the opening, as you look at it in an elevation perspective, that's what you're going to see. And from the other side, that's what you would see. Of course, your door would sit in here. The 3, part of the part number, the -3, means that it's a 3-inch hinge. And that's, while that's representative of the size, it's also, in my opinion, more importantly representative of the thickness of door that this is compatible with working. So your dimension, your 3-inch is basically going to be measured from the bottom of the caps on the hinge, measured from there to there. That's 3-inch. Less importantly, it's 3-inch in that dimension. What's most important to know is that the 3-inch size in this hinge is compatible for 3/4 inch thick to 1-inch thick doors. That's what this is specifically made to fit. Okay? If you have a thicker door, you need a bigger hinge. The thickness of the door is directly related to this size. Inch, inch and a quarter, you'd want the 4-inch hinge. Inch and a half, you'd want a 5-inch. Inch and 3/4, you'd want a 6-inch. Etc. If you have any questions on which hinge to use, just reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you. The 603 means that this is in the zinc finish, a corrosion-resistant sort of finish in a silver color or a chromish color. Okay. Below this video in the extended description is kind of a guideline of how many hinges to use. If you've got doors about 35 pounds, 2 of these hinges would suffice. If they're a little bit heavier than that, you're going to want 3 hinges. 2 hinges, 2-foot wide door is your maximum width. 3 hinges, 2-foot 8-inch door is your maximum width, and 5 foot is going to be your minimum door height for something like this. You know, if you get into a situation where you've got too heavy of a door, what'll happen is it'll, you know, because of the spring tension, it'll creep into the opening like this, which is not what you want, because really what's holding the door vertical is the tension on the spring here. Okay. Below this video is also a link to the installation instructions. And for double-acting hinges like this, they are, well, they're straightforward. And I'm not going to beleaguer all of the points of the installation instructions here because they can simply be reviewed. But most important to know, and the link to the technical specification is also important. All right, first of all, if you're dealing with 3 spring hinges, the paperwork shows to install 2 of them at the top. The simple reasoning for that is the majority of the weight that the hinge has to hold of the door is all the way at the top. There's, you know, it's proven evidence that that's where you want the business end of your hinges, all the way at the top, per the instruction here. About 3-inch from the top of the door down to the top of your first hinge, and just 2 or 3 inches below, put a second hinge. Okay, that's really what you're going to want to do. Then 1 down at the bottom. The important thing to know here is the math of working out how big of a net door width you need to have based on your clear frame opening width. So what I'm saying is, if you've got a 36-inch, well, you wouldn't have that. If you had a 30-inch wide opening and you're going to use this hinge, you've got to determine how much smaller from 30-inch to make the door. That's an important, thing to determine when installing these. You've got to calculate in the fact that your door is going to butt into here. You've got tolerance that you have to allow for the thickness of the hinge here, the thickness of the leaf here, okay, and then the margin at the other end of the opening, so that your door, if my fist is the door, that your door can continue to swing in and out. You know, you're going to want, depending on the door thickness, you know, you're going to want to allow 3/16 of an inch, something like that over here. If you're too tight, your door won't be able to open, because assuming your door is square edged, you know, your door would bottom out when it hit the outside corner of the door. You could radius the door edge. That's very common, very typical. That would allow you a tighter margin, you know, that sort of thing. But if we were going to use some just rough math, I'm going to measure the leaf of these two thicknesses at 3/16. So 3/16 is what you're dealing with right here. Might want to allow another 16th, that kind of sort of situation. So you got about approximately, and I'm not saying this is what you cut it to, but here's the logic, about a 1/4 inch here. And depending on your door thickness, you could have as much as a 1/4 inch on the other side, but you'll need to determine that. You know, you're going to need to get this into the opening and figure out how, you know, the net width. Or you can work it all in reverse. If you know, if you've got a door width that's fixed, then add your margin over here and add your margin over here, and that's going to be your frame inside clearance. Generally in installations like this, people, with a double acting hinge like this, people paint with a wider brush, so to speak. You know, 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, 1/2 inch, boom, you're done. You know, that kind of thing. But just keep that in mind, that you need to determine exactly what you're doing. All the screws, wood screws, are included in a complementary finish. Okay, you're obviously also going to get, it being a spring hinge, a tension rod. You're also going to get 2 tension pins per hinge, because you need 2. Tension collar are what these are called. There is an arrow with a direction on it that's clockwise. Only going to rotate this clockwise to set the tension. Okay, and as you rotate the tension collar clockwise, you reveal new holes here, and it's into one of those holes that you insert the tension pin. And then when you release the tension rod, it will stay with tension set on the spring. The same over here. Okay, that pin is going to bottom out on the inside of the hinge in here. Okay, it can work. You can install this upside down if you want, and you very well could. It's just follow the direction of the arrow. In that case, it'd be counterclockwise how you're going to be setting the tension on these. So always follow that. Available, as we said earlier, in all the different sizes based on door thickness. Available in several different finishes from Bommer, so there's no problem with that. This just happens to be zinc. Zinc is a good finish for something that you'd want a little corrosion resistance to, or you want to emulate a chrome finish. 603 or zinc tends to be a little bit less expensive than a satin chrome. A lot of people choose it for that reason as well. Or a lot of cases it just doesn't matter as much, you know, some chrome finish. Last thing I'd like to show you is the Bommer logo. Right above it you can see Made in USA. The fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. If you have any questions on the Bommer 3023-3-603 double acting half surface spring hinge or any other Bommer products, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.